One minute, it looked like traffic. The next, ICE convoys were dragging truckers straight out of their cabs, hundreds at a time, and turning the freeway into a mass deportation zone.
Just days ago, a truck driver in South Florida arrested after a crash that killed 3 people.
Trump signed an executive order in April saying truckers who can't speak or read English proficiently will be put out of service.
About at least 20-some random.
It's chaos out there, and what we've seen so far is only the surface. The crackdowns get bigger, messier, and the consequences go far beyond those who are now in detention centers. Let's break it all down. Picture a highway where semi after semi are getting pulled over, where ICE vans are parked sideways across 6 lanes, and entire convoys are frozen mid-journey, bumper to bumper, engines still running, but drivers are getting dragged out and cuffed by ICE agents screaming commands, while stunned families filmed from the shoulder.
What? This is insane! Ooh, got him. What? This is crazy.
That afternoon in South Texas, what looked like a traffic jam turned into a full-scale roundup. Within minutes, 7 migrant truckers were in handcuffs, sat down on the road, while ICE prepared to ship them off and revoke their licenses. And those were just the first 7. Minutes later, more doors flung open. A big cluster of people scattered was discovered crammed inside a truck just down the same highway.
Yeah, I don't. 1, let me get back there. 2, 3.
When the agents checked the boot, guess what? Even more people. What shocked locals wasn't just the sight of migrants running across interstates, it was the trucks themselves. We're not talking about beat-up vans, we're talking brand new pickups, moving vans, even full semis loaded with human cargo. One ICE official commented that smugglers get charged with an extra count for each person in their care. That means a single stop can stack 20 or 30 felonies on one driver. And still, people tried to run. SUVs blew through medians. A dump truck crammed with 84 migrants roared down the road before grinding to a halt in dust. Yes, 84 migrants in one single truck. And there's a reason ICE is going so hard on highways right now. They are executing a coordinated sweep backed by new rules signed straight from the top. And the next chapter reveals the order that flipped the switch and turned every interstate into a deportation zone. Back in April, everything shifted. Trump pulled out an executive order from a dusty shelf, one that says truckers must be able to speak and read English if they want to drive.
Trump signed an executive order in April saying truckers who can't speak or read English proficiently will be put out of service.
The rule itself wasn't new, but it had been ignored for decades.
This mandate requiring all truck drivers to speak English has actually been on the books since the 1930s. Now, the president and CEO of the Alabama Trucking Association tells me that guidelines from the Obama administration loosened enforcement and lowered penalties. Now, this executive order brings back that original mandate.
Because think about it. If you don't speak English, you can't read signs. You can get lost, miss the shipment, or be a danger to yourself and others. But turns out, under Obama, penalties were loosened. Warnings replaced tickets, and thousands of drivers who couldn't read basic road signs kept their licenses. ICE officials now call that era the free-for-all. Mark Coulson, CEO of the Alabama Trucking Association, explains.
Alabama truckers represent the highest quality in our industry. They can't afford to hire people who can't proficiently drive a truck or communicate in English because of the litigation environment that's out there.
Trump's order flipped the switch. No more warnings. Troopers in Alabama, Arkansas, and Florida started issuing real citations. Throughout the summer of 2025, ICE agents showed up at way stations and border corridors. And suddenly, every checkpoint turned into a language test.
For 2 truck drivers in DeKalb County, they were just ticketed for not speaking English, making them some of the first in the state ticketed under President Trump's executive order.
What sounds like a technicality quickly turned brutal. Drivers failed simple questions. They couldn't identify stop signs, and they couldn't explain what their cargo was. So their licenses were stripped on the spot. Dozens were referred straight to ICE for deportation proceedings. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis endorsed ICE and said it plainly.
They did an English test and he failed abysmally, not even close. But how ridiculous is it that somebody would get a commercial driver's license who doesn't understand the language of this country, doesn't understand road signs?
The crackdown made headlines because it was so fast. Within weeks, 40 drivers lost their commercial licenses. State troopers warned thousands more would follow. Safety groups cheered, saying it was common sense. Critics called it racist and discriminatory. After all, wasn't America built on people coming from everywhere to start from scratch and build a life? But ICE doubled down, claiming these weren't just traffic violations. They were life or death risks rolling down American highways. And that's where it gets darker, because if you thought it was just about failing a test, the next chapter uncovers how thousands of non-English speaking truckers even got their licenses in the first place. Spoiler, it wasn't legal, and it involved organized fraud rings working inside DMVS. If Trump's order pulled the trigger, these fraud networks loaded the gun, because a shocking number of truckers on U.S. highways never should have had licenses in the first place.
So First Coast News investigation, big trucks, big scheme. And we're going to start with this. Why is there a hole in this t-shirt? You can see the hole right there. State investigators say this is part of a cheating scheme centered in Jacksonville, making our roads treacherous.
Florida Highway Patrol found drivers walking into DMVS wearing chest harnesses under their shirts, with iPhones hidden behind tiny holes in the fabric. Outside, someone sat in a car feeding them the test answers in their own language through earpieces.
And you see the actual apparatus that he's wearing. He has a chest harness that actually holds the phone.
A red iPhone in the harness, and under a t-shirt, you see the hole right there?
A red iPhone in the harness, and under a t-shirt, you see the hole right there. It wasn't just a couple of cheaters either. It was a fully organized ring. Yeah, gangs and cartels are really not just about drugs. Investigators now say dozens of cases across Florida are tied back to Jacksonville. Arrests hit 5 men in one sweep, but officers admitted that was just the tip of the iceberg.
So the 5 men arrested so far, that's just the tip of the iceberg?
It is.
This is happening all over the country.
And no, these weren't harmless cheats.
It's a car that's crashed. Oh my God.
A stomach-turning pileup in Nassau County left a mother wearing her dead son's fingerprint around her neck.
Do you find yourself touching that a lot like that?
It's from the funeral home.
It's his fingerprint. It is. It's the last thing that I have of him.
Her attorney's message to lawmakers was raw.
Commercial truck drivers who can't read and speak English, take them off the road because they're killer drivers.
In a super ironic twist, the Punjabi trucker who killed her son admitted to it in court, but with an interpreter.
His name, Yadwinder Sangha. Patrick says Sangha, who speaks Punjabi, used an interpreter in his tape deposition under oath, and he admits this.
I don't read English.
That mom is now pushing Connor's Law, a bill in Congress with bipartisan sponsors that would give troopers the power to strip keys on the spot if a trucker can't read road signs. She says executive orders aren't enough. She wants it locked into federal law before another mother has to bury her child.
No mother should be forced to lose their babies.
Still haunts her.
Every mama deserves to keep her baby.
Now, that was back in 2017, and Connor's mom is still fighting for the law to get harsher. But even today, after Trump signed the new order, this is happening.
Just days ago, a truck driver in South Florida arrested after a crash that killed 3 people.
That driver, from India, made an illegal turn across a median marked official use only, no U-turn. Investigators tested him afterward. He couldn't identify 3 out of 4 road signs.
You can see it says, official use only, no U-turn. But could he read that? The DOT report says the driver was tested and he could not identify 3 of 4 road signs.
For ICE and state troopers, these tragedies became political armor. Anytime critics called the deportations discriminatory, officials pointed to the graves. Every new fatality turned into fuel for the crackdown. And that's why raids escalated from random stops to full-blown highway sweeps. Because once voters saw dump trucks packed with 84 people and families burying their kids, politicians couldn't back down, even if they wanted to. The crackdown wasn't just sweeping up undocumented drivers. ICE agents started cuffing Americans too, citizens who thought they were just making some fast cash or doing a favor for a friend of a friend.
I found an ad on Facebook, and we just clean up like hotels and stuff, and then they said they needed a ride, but We stay out here for a week. They pay us $2,000, then we go back home. I'm going to jail.
You're under arrest. You're under arrest for human smuggling.
I wasn't smuggling.
Facebook Marketplace and sketchy ads became recruiting hubs. Who can pick up 20 people in Eagle Pass? Gas-covered, cash bonus drivers showed up thinking they'd make quick rent money. Instead, they ended up in cuffs. One woman told troopers she was dropping out some friends for a friend.
Hi. Who's that in the backseat?
My friend.
Your friends?
Yes. I'm dropping out some friends for a friend.
You're dropping out some friends for a friend?
Yes, ma'am.
Do me a favor, go ahead and turn around for me.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, no. What am I doing?
Right now you're being detained. You're fine.
What ICE called friend rides turned into one of the most effective ways to catch smugglers, because every American busted became proof the cartels were infiltrating U.S. communities. And every headline made it harder for politicians to argue the crackdown was too harsh. But what happens when thousands of deportations and arrests collide with industries that run on immigrant labor? That's where the fallout started spilling into everyday life. The deportations didn't just empty highways, they gutted industries. By midsummer, over 1.2 million immigrant workers were gone from the U.S. labor force.
Census data shows the number of immigrant workers declined by more than 1 million from January through July.
By September, we're talking almost 1.5 million people. Some were deported, some self-deported, but most are just too afraid to come to work anymore. One ICE raid could mean they're put in a detention center for months with no access to lawyers or even family. And to circle back to truckers, there's a whole industry affected by these raids.
Crops are not harvested, they're not transported, they're not sold. If non-citizens are afraid to go out or to shop, consumer spending and business activity are reduced.
The butterfly effect is hard to miss here. Farmers in California watched produce rot in fields. Trucking firms admitted routes went unfilled. Small business owners told reporters they couldn't find anyone to replace the drivers suddenly detained.
Right now we've been struggling to find people that want to work.
Carlos runs his family's car wash. He also asked to remain anonymous out of fear his business would be targeted. He says the car wash has been raided twice.
Usually around these times we make from 3,000 to like 5, like a daily, maybe 2 days. Right now we're making not even half of that.
Even companies that wanted to hire legally faced shortages. They were forced to slow shipments, cancel contracts, and pay higher wages just to keep trucks on the road. Some firms admitted they couldn't compete when half their workforce vanished overnight. Now, the latest data shows a workforce decline, rivaled only by the Great Recession and COVID. Researchers linked the drop directly to stepped-up ICE raids.
We found that there was a decline of 3.1% in the number of persons reporting work in the private sector in California. This translates into 465,000 fewer Californians.
For ICE, this was a win. Proof the executive order was working. For Americans waiting on grocery deliveries, it was a crisis. And with Trump promising to double deportations, businesses now wonder if this is what 1.5 million gone looks like. What happens when the number keeps climbing? Or when we see 1 million or 2 gone each year? That's why ICE is upgrading its tools. And the next chapter shows the billion-dollar arsenal that turned deportation vans into something closer to Spider-Man tech. By the time ICE locked down highways, they were running raids like military ops. In Los Angeles, one chief bragged about his team's speed.
Turn and burn to the next one. That's the other term we use here is turn and burn. What is turn and burn? We're not going to hit one location. We're going to hit as many as we can all over the Los Angeles region. We're going to turn and burn to that next target and the next and the next and the next, and we're not going to stop.
Turn and burn became the motto. Vans hit a car wash, then a factory, then a warehouse. A blitz that didn't pause until every target on the list was cleared. Out on the highways, agents pulled out gear that looked straight out of a Marvel movie. One clip shows a patrol car firing a rope that snagged a fleeing SUV and tore its axle off mid-chase. But the real weapon here is cash. Trump's summer agenda bill gave ICE nearly $75 billion through 2029, including about $45 billion that is being set aside specifically to increase capacity at immigration detention centers. The other nearly $30 billion is going toward enforcement and removal, a cash windfall that will be directed toward the frontline ICE operations that involve arresting immigrants and transporting them to detention centers. The results are already visible. In the first 7 months of Trump's return, ICE logged nearly 350,000 deportations. That's brushing up against Obama-era peaks, but with one key difference. Under Obama, removals ramped up gradually, then plateaued. Under Trump, ICE is chasing a hard quota: 3,000 arrests a day, 1 million deportations a year. For ICE field teams, that means no slowing down. Officers admit privately they're already stretched thin. For migrants, and for industries that rely on them, it means living inside a machine that never turns off. So the question hanging over America now is grim. If highways, factories, and even car washes have turned into turn and burns under these quotas, what happens when this arsenal points beyond truckers? Because deportations are accelerating like never before. And when the target is 1 million a year, the purge ends up causing consequences we can never come back from.